Welcome back to the Weekend Report. I'm Masachaba Mposwa. Deputy Minister for Water and Sanitation, Sello Seitlholo, yesterday assessed the rehabilitation of the Hartbeespoort Dam by Magalies Water. The rehabilitation program aims to remove plant growth such as hyacinth and algae as impacting the water quality. Now let's get insight into the Deputy Minister's visit and the progress at the dam so far. Deputy Minister, good morning and welcome to Newzroom Afrika.
Good morning, Ms. Chaban. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much. First of all, foremost, can you please just, Deputy Minister, if you will, give us an update on the progress of the rehabilitation program?
Yeah, so just less than 2 years ago, the Department of Water and Sanitation contracted Magalies Water to undertake the remediation process of the Hartbeespoort Dam. There are three things that are currently being done as far as my oversight yesterday is concerned. The first thing is actually the physical removal of the water hyacinth as the subcontractor appointed by Magalies that's an ongoing process. The second thing is the biological control, that is to utilize bugs or insects, as it were, to eat up the plant so that it does not produce the seeds that obviously submerge under the dam and forms part of the sediments. And then when weather patterns agree, it then blooms again or goes up the dam water and then obviously blooms again. We of course know that this is a plant that its growth is within 5 days can reach full growth. The other thing that we have done that I've observed yesterday is that there is a pilot project they're using Nanobubble technology, that is to give oxygen to the dam, that specific portion of the dam, which was started last year on the 14th of February. And that has shown some form of improvement in terms of turning the green water that was found last year to a somewhat acceptable state. We know what hyacinth does, and as far as its growth in the water body is concerned, it sucks out the oxygen, which led to the dying of those fish earlier this year in January. So those are the three kind of things that are currently being undertaken. But I must say, Ms. Chapa, that whilst as a department, that is our water resource and we have the responsibility, legally and otherwise, to make sure that we're able to remediate it as best as possible. The crisis is actually upstream from the Hartbeespoort Dam.
All right, before we speak about the crisis, maybe let's just break down for the benefit of our viewers in a little bit more detail the specific milestones that you've achieved. You speak about a Nanobubble technology. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
All right, so my understanding from the tour that I did on the container, it's still quite very small. Obviously, it's at a very small scale. We're looking at obviously increasing that. So what it does is it takes in oxygen into the dam, and what it does is it oxidizes the dam so that it is able to allow the biodiversity to somewhat flourish in as far as that is concerned, making sure that the water hyacinth does not obviously come into contact with that particular specific area. The technology, of course, is something that I've only come across yesterday. There's, of course, quite a number of views international and otherwise as to whether it actually does work and whether it will actually have an impact. So far, it has had some form of impact in the area where it is placed, and we obviously look forward to the presentations that will be made by Magalies as to how then do we move from that pilot phase and where else do we go? Do we scale up the technology and to what extent? Because it does cost a lot of money.
Yeah, let's actually expand on that. I mean, what are the key challenges that the program has faced, and how have you addressed these?
Right, so the one issue that I'd wanted to refer to is just the amount of pollution that is coming through the dam from upstream. Now, catchments don't have municipal boundaries, as is the case with your Ekurhuleni, City of Tshwane, Mogale City, and Rand West. And once the polluted water, raw sewage, flows from these particular municipalities, it comes through in terms of the Crocodile River and that particular inlet of the Crocodile River. If you drive up close enough to the Crocodile River inlet of the dam, you see the amount of toxins, and you actually see the toxicity bubbling because of the amount of pollution that is coming. So that's the biggest crisis that the dam is currently facing. Of course, again, because of the rapid growth of the water hyacinths, the actual physical removal of it may seem to be ineffective. Because, I mean, you remove one part, certain portions of the hyacinth, and because it's a moving plant as well, it's always very difficult to keep up in terms of where it is, and having to get as much machinery as possible into the dam to actually do the actual physical removal. So those are the kind of tricky situations that we're facing currently, which obviously whatever work that the Nanobubble technology does in the context of the pilot, there's also that pollution that now needs to also be addressed. But that can't be addressed by the Department of Water and Sanitation. It must be addressed by the municipalities that I've highlighted or mentioned.
All right. So now the program also states that it will remove these floating plants, as indicated, and the debris. But how will this address the root cause of the contamination?
Right, so remember, as the Department of Water and Sanitation, we also have a regulatory role that we need to play in as far as the National Water Act is concerned. And that involves being able to issue notices, pre-directives and directives to municipalities in as far as their submission of corrective action plans are concerned, so that they're able to take control of the final effluent quality that is released from their wastewater treatment infrastructure. Currently, that is not the case, and we've seen, as a department, we have now opened criminal cases against Magalies City, City of Tshwane, Kuruleni, because of that particular process. The problem here, Masechaba, is that even if we do open criminal cases against these municipalities and we go to court and we win the case and the municipalities are fined a certain amount, it really doesn't stop the actual pollution from happening. So the root cause, whilst of course I mentioned wastewater treatment infrastructure, that is mainly the biggest polluter. But we also have industries, we also have mines, we also have agricultural runoff that also contributes to the pollution that is happening. So we have to take regulatory action hard in our hand in as far as that is concerned, but that doesn't stop the pollution. The actual thing that really would stop the actual pollution from happening is municipalities taking control of their infrastructure, implementing their bylaws, making sure that people do not settle in riverbanks so that they directly and indirectly pollute into the river streams, as is the case currently with the Hanops River, which also flows as a tributary into the Crocodile River, which then everything from upstream from those municipalities ends at Hartbeespoort Dam. And that is the biggest crisis that we're facing as a root cause. So municipalities upstream have to take responsibility for their infrastructure and recognize and realize the impact that this pollution is having in the dam, as well as many other dams and rivers across the country. That's probably the best way in order for us to be able to limit the amount of pollution that is happening, so that whatever technology and whatever mechanisms that we employ or deploy into the dam as the Department of Water and Sanitation can have very practical impact, or much bigger impact, as it were.
Yeah, with that said, Deputy Minister, I mean, the environmental health of the Hartbeespoort Dam is crucial. And many residents are deeply concerned about the health of Hartbeespoort Dam. So how confident are you that this program will effectively address the issues causing its decline and restore it to its healthy ecosystem?
Well, I can tell you it's going to take quite a number of years for us to achieve that. But it starts also with us being able to have a coordinated and multidisciplinary approach to how we're going to deal with this. As I said, water catchments don't have boundaries. Municipalities do. So it starts also with us being able to engage the relevant departments in terms of COCTA, wherein we have to be able to engage municipalities. And really, I'm not too sure how we're able to explain, the crisis of pollution in our country, because I would imagine that municipalities have to obviously recognize and understand this. But the reality is that our Green Drop reports show us that overall across the country, municipal wastewater infrastructure is collapsing or is in the decline. So we have to first deal with that particular issue. You would have heard during the State of the Nation address, there are some reforms that the President highlighted, and also national treasury regulations that need to come to fore, wherein municipalities will be made to ring-fence their water services revenue and take it back to the maintenance and operation of water services infrastructure. The biggest crisis also in as far as that is concerned, is the personnel appointed in municipalities. The Green Drop report tells us that there are personnel that work at wastewater treatment infrastructures that are not qualified to be there. So everything points back again to municipalities and their operation and maintenance of infrastructure. And of course, the grants that we give to municipalities to be able to do this. But the spending patterns and the way in which grants are used by municipalities is not really ring-fenced in as far as making sure that the infrastructure, the water service infrastructure is taken care of. So those are all of things that we can do in terms of reforms. But ultimately, it goes back to municipalities on whether they're able to stop the illegal connections, whether they're able to reduce their non-revenue water, whether they're able to implement their bylaws, making sure that people do not settle in riverbanks or potentially where they'll be able to cause pollution to wetlands or other water resources.
All
so
right.
those are some of the things that we can do.
Yeah, in that regard, Deputy Minister, so what are the department's plans to enhance, firstly, monitoring, plans to enhance early warning systems for water quality issues, even in other parts of the country?
That would be pretty much the responsibility of our catchment management agencies. Now, the Limpopo Olifants Catchment Management Agency is responsible for that portion of the Hartbeespoort Dam. The overall catchment, which includes the Hartbeespoort Dam. So we need to have a catchment management plan or strategy in terms of how we can be able to actually have points where we are able to detect what is happening within the catchment. But I want to repeat this fact, Master. Whatever is happening upstream within the catchment goes all the way down to the Hartbeespoort Dam. So what is happening upstream would need to be the responsibility of the catchment management agency, as well as taking forward the current contract that the department has with Magalies, because they would then need to be the managers of the catchment in as far as that is concerned. So that is what we have in terms of structural issues, but the rest of these other issues we can obviously do at a later stage where we will be getting a presentation on the way forward.
Okay. And in closing, before we let you go, Deputy Minister, what message do you have for the communities and the businesses that rely on the Hartbeespoort Dam? Briefly.
The Department of Water and Sanitation remains truly committed to remediating water resources that belong to us as a department, and we will do the best that we can, including with our catchment management agencies. The crisis of pollution, Maschaba, is placing quite a number of businesses at risk. 3 million people that go to the Hartbeespoort Dam, leading to 1.4 billion in terms of revenue for the Northwest Province or that particular area. That is the economy that we cannot afford to lose as a country and across many other parts of the country as well. And we would like to urge communities to realize the risks that the pollution has on their lives and livelihoods, and encourage municipalities to begin taking corrective action plans in making sure that they're able to fix their wastewater infrastructure, so that we can be able to begin having a process of remediating and getting better quality water into our water resources.